Alright, so today we're going to be doing this season's community video. If you're new here, a community video is basically where I ask you guys to send me a few questions so that I can answer them in a video. As always, if you do watch these videos somewhat regularly, I'd really appreciate it if you sub to the channel, as it really helps me out. Now let's not waste any more time and get right into it. Alright, starting things off, John H says, I know it's nothing new, but how do you feel about having 4 of the same hero in Dominion? It doesn't happen often, but you notice it when it does. For example, a full team of Centurions. It isn't fun to play against. I've seen more people bring this up this season, mainly because 2 Yorms can destroy your chance of having children at the same time. And then in testing grounds, 2 Centurions could have kept you pinned down before they fixed it. I agree with you. While Centurion isn't great now, when a bunch of them get together and gank you, you're eventually going to get pinned, and no one likes being caught in a cutscene. Sure, they're putting their team at a disadvantage by using 4 Centurions, but that doesn't change the fact that it's pretty annoying. Would I like to see single pick? Yes, but not in regular matchmaking games. I'd only like to see single pick implemented into a ranked mode. When you introduce it into public matchmaking, you're going to eventually run into the problem of people backing out of games because they didn't get to use the hero they wanted to. This will be really noticeable when a new hero gets put into the game or when reworks are put into the game. Also, when people are trying to finish their orders or something for a certain hero, they'd probably back out if someone else got to them first. So I wouldn't put single pick into regular matchmaking, but if they ever do ranked 4s or something, I'd love to see it there. Dave Gonzalez says, gear sets. Where are the new gear sets, Yubi? Soon, but it's the developer soon, so it could be a ways out. But at least we know that we are getting some more one day. I know some people wonder why new armor sets are so important to some people, and that's because gear is basically a part of the progression. You're always looking at your character, and of course you want them to look as good as possible. Currently, there's not too much variety in the sets themselves. There are a ton of different colors and material colors and patterns and whatnot, but the sets themselves have been looking the same for the longest time. Once you hit a certain level, a lot of people start to look the same, so it's always a treat to get more armor. More so than to get new finishers, as we know that we'll get new finishers every season. But with armor, we have no idea when it's coming. All we've gotten so far is the infamous developer soon. Alright, Mighty Matman says, first, thank you for your dedication to the community with these videos. And to that I say thank you for even watching these videos, let alone interacting with them. I really do appreciate it. Do you think with the trend of increasing lights to the standard 500 milliseconds that this should apply to Highlander's light openers? Yes, I do. I'd love if they just sped it up to 500 milliseconds while still allowing it to counter, of course with a smaller window, so think like Valk's light attacks. You'd still be able to backstep to get into offensive stance if you want, and you could maybe use it to attack once in a while. You could even go a step further and suggest that Yubi test out enhanced lights on his opener and see how that works out. I know that some Highlander players prefer having the slower light so that they can get more crushing counters and whatnot, so why not throw Highlander into the next testing grounds phase and see what they can do there. Next up, he says, regarding the feat Rocksteady, it currently doesn't prevent knockdown from Yorm's bashes, however this feat does prevent other knockdown punishes like Centurion's charge jab and Highlander's caber toss. Do you think Rocksteady should continue to bypass these moves or function as it does for Yorm? No, I don't think Rocksteady should bypass either of these moves, since punch and caber toss should work in the same way that Yorm's knockdowns function. I know only 2 heroes have Rocksteady in the entire game, but I really don't understand how, since charge punch or caber toss don't bypass Rocksteady already. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but I just think Rocksteady should only work against throws and out of stamina parries, because that alone is already pretty strong for a passive feat. Finally, do you think the devs will buff Nusha's deflect? Currently it can be blocked and parried. Go ahead and just make it confirmed, Yubi, but if you're going to confirm it, drop the damage a bit to compensate for it landing all the time. Some Nusha mains like that it can be blocked because of the high damage. I personally have never been a fan of that. The damage on it is pretty high, and as I've said before, 3 attacks shouldn't be taking people out, And there are two other deflects I can think of that hit really hard, those being Shinobis and now Valks, and those can be looked at too. Do I think Yubi will buff the deflect? I'm not really sure. I sort of doubt it. I'm assuming this was intentional, or at least I'm hoping so, and maybe Yubi has a reason for keeping it the way it is. Mr. Magic says we have characters that can kill opponents in 3 to 4 hits, and he wonders why this is fine for Yubi. This is something a few of us have thought about for a while now. I don't think anyone should be able to eliminate an opponent in 3 hits. I'm not a huge fan of 40 to 50 damage attacks, and I wish some of these values were looked at, as some heroes can take you out of the fight for making just a couple of mistakes, while other heroes have to capitalize on more mistakes depending on how much damage they do. I think I've said this before, but I think Yubi should just go ahead and give every hero in the game some more health, or of course reduce the damage on a whole lot of things, but I'd go with increasing health on heroes. This is tricky though, because of course when you raise the health, you've got to look at a lot of other things like healing feats and healing points, or things like shields and debuffs and whatnot. And also raising health could make some perk and feat combos on higher health heroes pretty annoying to go up against, as you could be whittling down a hero like Lawbringer who already has a high health pool, and he can come back and kill you with like 4 parries, even if health was bumped up a bit. So I think Yubi could raise the health on all heroes while looking at some of these higher damaging moves as well. Brandon Cabezas asks, what do you think about PS4 playing with Xbox? That way we can all find games much quicker. I have absolutely no problem with this whatsoever. I highly doubt we'd ever see this happen with For Honor. I don't think there's any downside to this, and I'm a fan of crossplay whenever I see it. And honestly, I wish more games included crossplay between, at the very least, Xbox and PlayStation, so that I'm not faced with a decision of which group of friends I'm going to play said game with. A lot of you guys play on PS4 and Xbox, and I'd love to play with you guys more often without having to switch out consoles every time I want to play with a different group of people. Also, I'd be able to play a game with different sets of people without having to purchase 2 copies. I'd absolutely love if Yubi did what this year's Call of Duty is doing and allow you to link all of your accounts, whether it be Xbox, PlayStation, or Steam, to one Call of Duty account, so that you can play with different players from different platforms with the added bonus of keeping all of your progression no matter what you're playing on. Penguin93 says, I know that this will sound stupid, but what do you think of a battle pass in For Honor? At the moment, the only way to get steel is doing daily orders, but when I finish them, I don't really have a reason to keep playing anymore. I want steel. I've seen a lot of suggestions for this game over these past couple of years, and this is probably the first time I've seen someone mention a battle pass for this game. This isn't a dumb or stupid question at all. A battle pass can be a good thing for a game if it's implemented correctly, and of course if it's worth the investment. I'd be fine with having a battle pass in For Honor as long as there are enough tiers, and of course if the rewards are actually interesting and worthwhile. There's enough stuff to put into a pass for this game. There could be the good stuff like finishers, emotes, and effects, and then there's the filler like battle and elite outfits, maybe some color palettes, and throw in a few ornaments in there. I doubt we'd ever see anything like this make its way to For Honor, considering we still get content pretty regularly, and I doubt they'd make 50 to 100 new items to throw into a battle pass unless they lock it behind a paywall that isn't steel. I'd like it though. Having something to play for after you finish your daily orders would be absolutely amazing. Minette Stewart says, are you as disappointed that Yorm didn't get Haymaker as I am? Because I'm pretty disappointed. Could you imagine Yorm with Haymaker? That'd be pretty annoying. Unless they adjusted Haymaker just for Yorm or didn't make it work on all of their bashes, I am not disappointed that Yorm doesn't have Haymaker. I'd be disappointed if Yorm did have Haymaker. I wouldn't be too pressed about it if that guard switch bug wasn't an issue, but it is. I'm surprised that it's still an issue actually, considering we've seen it with Black Prior already, and it sucks when a bash is confirmed because you had the nerve to switch your guard. Also, Haymaker is a tier 2 feat, I believe, so pair that with Yorm's first feat, Jotun Salve, and he'd be dealing 10 damage per bash and heal at the same time. I personally wouldn't be a huge fan of this. Soul Crushing says, okay, people find bashes annoying. How do you feel about adding a scale or decay to bashes? What I mean is a mechanic similar to the one Nintendo introduced to dodges in Smash Ultimate. When you bash for the first time in a while, it's good and quick, but consecutive uses in a row would slightly make it worse and easier to punish, and then bashing after not using it for a bit, like 6 seconds for example, would make it faster again. So I see where you're coming from here, but I don't think you should punish a player for using an offensive part of their kit. Every hero in For Honor doesn't have access to a bash like they do, say, a dodge, and some heroes rely on bashes to land damage. Trust me, I really can't stand when, say, a Black Prior does nothing but bash all game long, as it's just really boring. But as annoying as a bash can be, heroes like, say, Warlord need that bash to apply some sort of pressure to their opponent. It's a part of their kit. And the risk that they take in throwing that bash is already high enough, as they can get caught by a guard break if they whiff, which in turn leads to the Warlord eating a guard break punish, which is usually something between 20 to 30 damage, or even dying if there's an environmental around. Slowing down his headbutt after throwing out 1 or 2 would put him in a tough spot, as a bash like that is already pretty easy to avoid if you're awake, and making it easier to avoid just increases the chances that he'll get punished for throwing it. This makes his neutral pressure weaker while the decay is active, and will force him to just wait until that decay is gone, slowing down fights. I'm just using Warlord as an example here, but this also applies to stronger heroes like BP or Conk as well. Ragnarok. I like your channel, Ragnarok. I love the way you commentate. Ragnarok says, I still just want to know your name. He even put 2 emojis in there, so I have to add more energy. I still just want to know your name. My name is Barry Ragnarok. Join the Discord and you know that. Anyways, that's all I've got for this video. I may make a part 2 to this video because there were a few more questions I wanted to answer, but I didn't want this video to go on forever. As usual though, I do want to hear what you guys think, so be sure to talk to me down in the comments about anything. Anything at all we talked about in this video. And as usual, if you like the video, feel free to leave a like and sub if you're new. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video.